Well, Doug, we're wrapping things up here tonight. Wisconsin Dells came in, got the job done, picked up the 47-41 win over the host Hornets. That gives Wisconsin Dells an 8-1 mark, so that wraps up for them the title.
It wraps it up because Wautoma's got 3 losses. So right. Wautoma's got 3 losses, the Dells has 1. So irregardless of what they do against Mauston next week, the most they can have is 2 losses.
Of course, if they beat Mauston in their final outing, they'll finish 9-1. Talked about it a little bit during the game. I guess I was just kind of shocked at how slow Wautoma played the tempo here, and I know you're giving a lot of credit to the Dells defense, but at some point they had to have wanted to play a little bit slower of a game too.
Yeah, they have played a much slower paced ball game against zones in the last, since they beat the Dells down and the Dells. Part of what happened with Wautoma, particularly in the fourth quarter tonight, was a little bit of inexperience in this kind of ball game. You could see that the Dells knew where they wanted to go with the ball. They wanted to get it into Gibson. Gibson had the advantage on the inside, but they didn't force the ball into him. Wautoma really never got the ball into Cassidy in a position where he could get Gibson with that 3rd or 4th foul. The Dells zone really kept Gibson out of fouls in the second half. Coach did a good job keeping him out in the first half and having him ready for the second half. It was a little more poised. It was a little more, we've been in a championship game before at the end of the ball game. Wautoma will learn. They've got 3 of those kids coming back next year. They can learn. They can teach the younger kids. They were on the edge this year. Now they need to find out how to get that next step to get over the edge. Dells is going to have a good ball club next year. They got the 2 freshman guards that are if they work hard over the summer, could be, very good players. Mauston next year, they've got a freshman guard that's a very good ball player. Adams is always going to be tough because Coach does such a good job over there.
Very young this year too. They're all sophomores and juniors in their varsity.
So it's going to be an interesting league next year.
You talked a little bit about the inexperience, and the other thing we saw down here, closing minutes of the game, whenever it had to get off the shot, they just ran too much clock.
Right.
Just a situation of awareness on the court. The one basket they did get, it cost them like 25 seconds on the clock to get a 2-point shot. And
at the end of the ball game, they were still running the same patient offense that they'd ran earlier in the game. They didn't feel the urgency of the game, and that's something you have to learn. And that's something, if you've got a program that hasn't been up the mountain, you have to learn how to climb that mountain, and it's at an end of a ball game a lot of times that is the difference between wins and losses. Or most of the time, this game really was with 4 minutes left to go, was anybody's ball game. Dells, after that time, kind of imposed their will, did what they wanted to do, and of course at the end they got to the free throw line because Wautoma had to foul in order to try to get the ball back. It'll be interesting to see how Dells handles the tournament series. Wautoma should have a shot. They'll be about in the middle of their region, and if they play against teams that haven't seen them before very much, they can maybe catch them the same way they caught Dells the first game down at the Dells.
Well, and each and every week here during our post-game show, we have a group of honors that we hand out at the end of the game, and the first one is the local point located on Highway 1216, formerly Aces Supper Club. They sponsor our turning point of the game, and we didn't talk about it a whole lot before we went back on the air, but I think we just talked about it quite a bit right now, that probably the turning point was maybe just the lack of experience in these sort of games here. You could tell down the stretch that Wautoma just didn't push it as much as they needed to, and so let's just call the turning point tonight just that important experience factor that comes in when the Chiefs have played for so many of these championships before.
Right, and that showed itself, Bob, in one play that kind of pushed the Chiefs over the hump. They ran an extremely nice backdoor play from Gibson to I think it was Stowers
to Ward.
That was to Ward,
right?
And it was the kind of play that makes a difference in a ball game. you play tough defense, and all of a sudden somebody gets a bunny because the other team runs a nice set and gets it. The other thing to me that you may not call it the turning point of the game, but the importance of the game was Gibson.
Big factor.
Inside, he was a big factor. He took Cassidy out of the ball game on this end, and when they really needed something in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, the Chiefs looked to Gibson on the inside, even though he traveled a couple times and looked a little bit clumsy getting the ball up. He was a presence that made a difference.
And for that very reason, and the fact that he finished with 15 points tonight, 8 in the first half, 7 in the second half, and most of that first half he sat on the bench. I don't think he played at all in the second quarter after he got those 2 fouls in the first. So for that, we're going to name Nate Gibson the Shields fireside and heating hot hand of the game. We talked a little bit about the play of the game, and that's the Sylvan Learning Center in Baraboo's play of the game. That's going to be the basket underneath that Kyle Stowers hit Justin Ward for the nice bunny. The other honor we haven't spoke about yet tonight is the Kentucky Ford Mercury Workhorse of the game, and tonight we're going to give that honor to freshman Shane Wimann. He had
6 in the first half, 10 in the second half, and it finished with 16, I believe.
Correct. A lot of rebounds, especially early in the first half. Doug, thanks for helping out tonight. It was a game that was everything it was up about. We came up here tonight not knowing what to expect, and I guess I know you're from Wautoma here, and so unfortunately it didn't go your way, but this is obviously a program that's taken a step here, back-to-back winning seasons, very competitive in the South Central. We usually get a lot of good basketball, teams that get into sectional play out of the sectional with Adams Friendship and the Chiefs. So for a young team, a team to come in here in just their 4th year in the league and put back-to-back winning seasons, and to have been in this game tonight fighting for a championship, that says a lot about what Coach Carl Asher has done here with the Hornets and how this program has turned around.
Right. My congratulations to the Chief, and the Hornets don't have to hang their head. Coach Asher has the program going in the right direction. The whole key for the Hornets now is what they do with where they are.
Well, and with that, we'll leave you tonight, and thanks for helping out tonight, Doug.
Enjoyed it
very
much.
Good luck in the playoffs, and we'll see you again next year.